Greetings. Our lodge, United Lodge of Theosophists, Washington, D.C., is guided by its declaration, which states the following. The policy of this lodge is independent devotion to the cause of Theosophy, without professing attachment to any theosophical organization. It is loyal to the great founders of the Theosophical movement, but does not concern itself with dissensions or differences of individual opinion. The work it has on hand and the end it keeps in view are too absorbing and too lofty to leave it the time or inclination to take part in side issues. That work and that end is the dissemination of the fundamental principles of the philosophy of Theosophy and the exemplification and practice of those principles through a truer realization of the self, a profounder conviction of universal brotherhood. It holds that the unassailable basis for union among Theosophists, wherever and however situated, is similarity of aim, purpose, and teaching, and therefore has neither constitution, bylaws, nor officers, the sole bond between its associates being that basis. And it aims to disseminate this idea among Theosophists in the furtherance of unity. It regards as Theosophists all who are engaged in the true service of humanity, without distinction of race, creed, sex, condition, or organization, and it welcomes this association all those who are in accord with its declared purposes and who desire to fit themselves by study and otherwise to be the better able to help and teach others. The true Theosophist belongs to no cult or sect, yet belongs to each and all. Today's talk will be on the spiritual sun. The Gayatri Mantra, also known as the Savitri, is the most ancient mantra known to man. The translation adopted by William Judge is as follows. Unveil, O thou who givest sustenance to the universe, from whom all proceed, to whom all return. That face of the true sun, now hidden by a vase of golden light, that we may see the truth and do our whole duty on our journey to thy sacred seat. Unveil is the cry of the man who is determined to know the truth and who perceives that something hides it from him. It is hidden by his own karmic effects, which have put him now where the brain and the desires are too strong for the higher self to pierce through, so long as he remains careless and ignorant. The cry is not made to some man-made God with parts, passions, and attributes, but to the self above who sees in secret and brings us out to light. It is directed to that on which the universe is built and stands, no other than the self which is in every man. From this, the whole universe proceeds out into manifestation. The ancients held that all things whatsoever existed in fact solely in the idea, and therefore the practitioner of yoga was taught and soon discovered that sun, moon, and stars were in himself. And until he learned this, he could not proceed. This doctrine is very old, but today is adopted by many modern reasoners. For they perceive on reflection that no object enters the eye, and that whether we perceive through sight or feeling or any other sense whatever, all objects are existing solely in idea. Of old, this was demonstrated in two ways. First, by showing the disciple the actual interpenetration of one world by another. As that while we live here among those things called objective by us, other beings were likewise living in and among us, and our objects, and therein actually carrying on their avocations, perceiving the objects on their plane as objective, and wholly untouched by and insensible to us, and the objects we think so material. This is no less true today than it was then, and if it were not true, modern hypnotism, clairvoyance, or clairaudience would be impossible. This was shown by a second method, precisely similar to mesmeric and hypnotic experiments, only that to these was added the power to make the subject step aside from himself and with a dual consciousness note his own condition. The objectivity is only real relatively. For the mind sees no objects whatever, but only their idea, and at present is conditioned through its own evolution until it shall have developed other powers and qualities. The request made in the verse to unveil the face of the true sun is that the higher self may shine down into us and do its work of illumination. This also spreads forth a natural fact unknown to moderns, which is that the sun we see is not the true sun, and signifies too that the light of the intellect is not the true sun of our moral being. Our forefathers in the dim past knew how to draw forth through the visible sun the forces from the true one. We have temporarily forgotten this because our evolution and descent into the hell of matter, in order to save the whole, have interposed a screen, which is now hidden by a vase of golden light. That is, the light of the true sun, the higher self, is hidden by the blood contained in the vase of the mortal body. The blood has two aspects, in one of which it is a helper to perception, in the other a hindrance. But it signifies here the passions and desires, the personal self, the thirst for life. It is this that veils from us the true light. So long as desire and the personality remain strong, just so long will the light be blurred. So long will we mistake words for knowledge and knowledge for the thing we wish to know and to realize. The object of this prayer is that we may carry out our whole duty after becoming acquainted with the truth, while we're on our journey to thy sacred seat. This is our pilgrimage, not of one, not selfishly, not alone, but the whole of humanity. For the sacred seat is not the Brahmanical heaven of Indra, nor the Christian selfish heaven, acquired without merits, while the meritorious suffer the pains of hell. It is that place where all meet, where alone all are one. It is when and where the three great sounds of the first word of the prayer, which is Aum, merge into one soundless sound. This is the only proper prayer, the soul-saving aspiration. The Eastern initiates maintain that, as the supra-divine essence of the unknown absolute is equally in every domain and plane, the central sun is simply the center of universal life, electricity, the reservoir within which that divine radiance, already differentiated at the beginning of every creation, is focused. Though still in a laya or neutral condition, it is nevertheless the one attracting as also the ever emitting life center. As the physical sun is the great life giver of the physical world, the hidden, concealed spiritual sun is the light and life giver of the spiritual and psychic realms. The occult sciences say that it is the sun and all the suns that are from it which emanate at the manvantaric dawn from the central sun. What is the connection between spirit and the spiritual sun? First, the spirit beyond manifested nature is the fiery breath in its absolute unity. In the manifested universe, it is the central spiritual sun, the electric fire of all life. In our system, it is the visible sun, the spirit of nature, the terrestrial God. Far from us be the thought of the slightest irreverence, let alone blasphemy, toward the divine power which called into being all things, visible and invisible. Of its majesty and boundless perfection, we dare not even think. It is enough for us to know that it exists and that it is all wise. Enough that in common with our fellow creatures we possess a spark of its essence. The supreme power whom we revere is the boundless and endless one, the grand central spiritual sun, by whose attributes and the visible effects of whose inaudible will we are surrounded, the God of the ancient and the God of modern seers. His nature can be studied only in the worlds called forth by his mighty fiat. His revelation is traced with his own finger in imperishable figures of universal harmony upon the face of the cosmos. It is the only infallible gospel we recognize. Science laughs, of course, at the mystic's true sun, for it sees none other than the one shining in the heavens. Our object, however, is to draw the attention to the doctrine that there is a true sun, of which the visible one is a reflection. And that in this true one, there's spiritual energy and help. Just as our own beloved luminary contains the spring of our physical life and motion. It is useless now to speculate on which of the many stars in the heavens may be the real sun, for it is none of them. Since a physical center of attraction for this system may only be a grade higher than ours, and the servant of a center still farther removed. We must work in our several degrees, and it is not in our power to overleap one step in the chain that leads to the highest. Our own sun is then for us the symbol of the true one he reflects. And by meditating on the most excellent light of the true sun, we can gain help in our struggle to assist humanity. For with every effort of will toward purification and unity with that self-God, one of the lower rays breaks and the spiritual entity of man is drawn to higher and ever higher to the ray that supersedes the first, until from ray to ray the inner man is drawn into the one and highest beam of the parent sun. Our physical sun is for physics, not metaphysics, while that true one shines down within us. The orb of day guards and sustains the animal economy. The true sun shines into us through its medium within our nature. We should then direct our thought to that true sun and prepare the ground within for its influence, just as we do the ground without for the vivifying rays of the King of Day. Thank you.